Tragic loss. Brian McKnight's son. Niko's shocking death unveiled. The heartbreaking truth. The latest news about Brian McKnight centers on the heartbreaking death of his estranged son, Niko McKnight. Brian McKnight's 32-year-old son passed away last Thursday after fighting cancer for several years. His health seemed to improve when he shared in January 2024 that things are looking better now regarding his diagnosis. The improvement proved temporary as Niko lost his brave 2-year battle against stage 4 colon cancer 5 months later. The McKnight family's private grief has become a public matter, with mounting tensions as new developments emerge. Niko's mother, Julie McKnight, shared the devastating news on social media. Her son had kept his followers updated about his cancer experience through Instagram posts. Brian's relationship with his biological children has come under renewed scrutiny. The father and son remained estranged, though communication channels stayed open until Niko's death. This tragic loss has exposed complex family dynamics and sparked intense emotional responses from all involved. Brian McKnight confirmed son Niko's death at 32. R&B singer Brian McKnight confirmed the death of his 32-year-old son, Niko McKnight, in a long Instagram post that quickly created controversy on social media. He made the announcement right after Niko passed away on Thursday. Brian's post didn't just talk about the loss, it also revealed complex family issues with his biological children. Brian's Instagram statement acknowledged his son's death, but criticized other family members who announced it publicly. "I want to address something that happened that is very upsetting and disappointing," he wrote. He called out his brother, Claude McKnight, and Niko's mother, Julie, for sharing the news before he could process it. Someone texted Brian about Niko's death. He felt blindsided when Claude posted about it on TikTok, and Julie shared it on social media. "The fact that I was receiving calls from TMZ and Radar Online before I could even process what was happening is beyond comprehension," Brian said in his message. Brian claimed he tried to help Niko during his cancer battle. His post mentioned that he reached out with access to a top oncologist and private care. He said, "The door of communication was always open between them." The message also touched on Brian's distant relationship with his biological children. The singer has 4 kids from previous relationships: Brian Jr., Niko Brianna, and Clyde. He's been open about these strained relationships, especially since marrying Leilani Malia Mendoza in 2017, and having their son, Brian Kainoa Makoa McKnight, in 2022. His announcement sparked immediate criticism from fans who questioned his parenting. People criticized both the timing and tone of his message. Many felt he focused too much on family disputes instead of honoring his son's memory. Brian had to limit comments on his social media as criticism grew. His post included religious references. "I have lived by the word of God," he wrote, "and have done everything to forgive and to try to restore what was broken." Brian defended himself as a father throughout the message. He expressed sadness that they couldn't fully reconcile before Niko died from stage 4 colon cancer. The post didn't mention any funeral plans or public memorials for Niko. Instead, Brian explained his side of the family conflict and defended his role as a father. He pushed back against claims of being vilified as a deadbeat dad. Brian insisted he always provided financial support for his children. This reflects an ongoing dispute between family members about Brian's involvement in his biological children's lives. This announcement has become central to Brian McKnight's recent news coverage. The public's reaction to how he handled this sensitive announcement has almost overshadowed the tragic news itself. Brian McKnight lashes out at family over public tributes. The Brian McKnight latest news took an unexpected turn just days after Niko McKnight's death. The R&B singer released a harsh public criticism of his family members about their tributes to his late son. Brian shared a lengthy Instagram reel on June 3rd with beach footage from Maui. His voiceover message sparked more controversy in an already tense family situation. Criticize Claude McKnight's TikTok announcement. Brian aimed his emotional statement at his brother Claude McKnight, who shared news of Niko's death on TikTok. A big thanks to Claude McKnight's tasteless and self-aggrandizing announcement on TikTok that frankly was not his to make, Brian wrote in his Instagram post. He said his brother tried to gain status by spreading the tragedy instead of respecting the family's privacy during their grief. The boundaries were crossed when Claude made the announcement, according to Brian. In my opinion, he inserted himself and used Niko's death as an opportunity instead of letting him pass with respect and dignity. Brian felt frustrated that a private family matter had become a circus, a mockery of a life now lost, making this tragedy into a reality show type drama. Brian and his current wife Leilani seemed to hold their own private memorial for Niko in Maui based on the post's imagery. This stood in stark contrast to other family members' public announcements, showing how differently relatives chose to honor Niko's memory. Claude's original TikTok tribute was actually quite modest. He mentioned being devastated at my nephew's passing and asked commenters to respond in love and not at what you may have heard about the relationship my brother has with his kids. Brian still saw the post as inappropriate and attention-seeking. Calls Julie McKnight's actions disrespectful. Brian's anger went beyond his brother to target his ex-wife Julie McKnight, Niko's mother. He called her the self-proclaimed Mama Bear and made serious claims about her handling of Niko's medical care. The last time Niko and I spoke, we offered him all the help we could provide, Brian stated. He claimed to have lined up the #1 oncologist on deck for him and a team of specialists on standby with private care in our home. Both Niko and Julie turned down these offers, according to Brian. Brian suggested Julie blocked any chance of father-son reconciliation. To the self-proclaimed Mama Bear, may God have mercy on your soul for not allowing him to accept that help and not allowing him to use that line of communication. He insisted that the door of communication was open and remained open until his death, hinting at attempts to stay in touch despite their estrangement. Religious themes ran through Brian's statement. There is great comfort in knowing God knows the truth and the totality of the whole story. He thanked God for the immense peace God has given me and appreciated supporters who haven't let untruths, half-truths, or slander prejudice your opinion. Julie fired back with her own statement on June 4th. She directly challenged Brian's version of events. Brian had made the decision to sever ties with her sons well before Niko's diagnosis, she said. He did this publicly through interviews, blogs, and many posts on his social media platforms. Julie also said Brian remained absent during Niko's cancer battle, and they had endured quietly for years his verbal abuse. The tributes to a 32-year-old man who lost his battle with cancer quickly turned into public accusations between family members. The Brian McKnight news shifted from mourning Niko to covering bitter exchanges between his father, mother, and uncle. This highlighted unresolved family conflicts that lasted until Niko's final days. The public largely disapproved of Brian's statements. Many questioned why he aired family grievances so soon after Niko's death. The drama around Brian McKnight, biological kids, has only grown with each new family statement. More attention now focuses on the complex and troubled relationships of Niko's final years. Brian claims he offered medical help to Niko. New details have surfaced about Brian McKnight's alleged attempts to help his son Niko with medical care amid their family controversy. Brian claims he tried hard to secure medical treatment for his son during his cancer battle. Other family members don't agree with his version of events. Mentions top oncologist and private care. Brian first talked about his son's cancer diagnosis during his weekly Instagram Q&A session in April 2024, 2 months before Niko died. He said he learned about Niko's condition 6 months earlier and took action right away, even though their relationship wasn't good. 6 months ago, we found out about this, Niko's cancer diagnosis. Brian stated, "We called him. We talked to him. We talked to his wife. She told us that she was all alone and handling everything all by herself." Brian said he and his current wife, Leilani Mendoza, asked for Niko's medical reports after learning that Niko and his wife didn't have proper insurance or access to specialized care. They personally took these reports to specialists. According to Brian, they got consultations with the best specialist in the country, created a treatment plan to give Niko the best fighting chance, located a treatment facility near their home that put Niko at the top of the list, made a deposit to hold his spot at the facility, set up travel arrangements for Niko and his wife to come for treatment. Brian repeated these claims in his Instagram post after Niko died. "The last time he and I spoke, we offered him all the help we could provide. We had the #1 oncologist on deck for him and a team of specialists on standby with private care in our home." This statement became central to the story about Brian's relationship with his biological kids. Says communication door was open. Brian has always said he tried to stay in touch with Niko despite their problems. After Niko died, Brian stressed, "The door of communication was open and remained open until his death." This statement challenges stories that suggest he abandoned his biological kids completely. Brian said Julie McKnight, Niko's mother, stopped his efforts to help their son. He described getting a very hostile phone call from Julie in April 2024. She allegedly told him, "Do not contact. He does not need your help." Brian believes this prevented any chance of making things right and getting medical help for their son. Julie's actions might have been driven by her wish to keep up what Brian called the strong narrative that's being pushed out there about me, referring to claims that he was a bad father. "I can only imagine that if that help came from me, that it would go against the strong narrative that's being pushed out there about me," Brian stated. "So what are we doing? We're adhering to her wishes because that's what she wanted, and we're staying out of it." Brian directly challenged Julie in his tribute after Niko's death. To the self-proclaimed Mama Bear, "May God have mercy on your soul for not allowing him to accept that help." This accusation added more tension to the family drama about Brian's relationship with his son. These different stories about attempted medical help have become a major point of conflict in the family's public dispute. Brian insists he tried hard to help Niko with medical care and stay in touch. Julie and other family members tell a different story about his involvement during Niko's final months. Julie McKnight and Claude respond to Brian's accusations. Brian McKnight's public accusations sparked immediate responses from Julie McKnight and Claude McKnight. Their statements added new layers to the unfolding family drama. The situation grew more intense as Niko's mother and uncle defended themselves against Brian's allegations about their behavior after his son's death. Julie asks for privacy and shares tribute. Julie McKnight responded to Brian's harsh post with an emotional Instagram statement. She took a different approach from Brian's confrontational tone and expressed gratitude for the support they received after Niko's passing. Thank you to everyone who has reached out with love and support during this devastating time, Julie wrote. She strongly disagreed with Brian's account of their son's care and family relationships. Julie rejected Brian's claims about offering medical help to Niko. Brian made the decision to sever ties with our sons years before Niko was diagnosed with cancer. She stated, noting he did this publicly through interviews, blogs, and numerous posts across his social media platforms. Her statement challenged the narrative that Brian had kept communication open with his biological children. Julie claimed Brian remained absent during Niko's fight with cancer, suggesting he fabricated his offers of medical assistance. She revealed that she and her sons had endured verbal abuse quietly for years from Brian. Unlike Brian's lengthy explanation, Julie ended with a simple request. We ask for privacy during this difficult time as we grieve the loss of my beautiful son. She included several photos of Niko from his childhood through recent years. Her visual tribute celebrated his life instead of dwelling on family conflicts. Claude defends his intentions in TikTok video. Claude McKnight addressed the accusations about his TikTok death announcement. His response video stayed calm and avoided matching Brian's aggressive tone. I want to clarify that my intention was never to create drama or hurt anyone, Claude stated in his follow-up video. I shared the news of my nephew's passing from a place of genuine grief and love. He spoke about his personal connection to the loss as Niko's uncle and his desire to honor his memory. Claude responded to Brian's criticism about announcing Niko's death. Family relationships are complex, and grief affects us all differently. He mentioned consulting Julie and other family members before posting contradicting Brian's claim that he acted alone for attention. The Take 6 vocalist commented on the public's reaction to the family situation. This is not about taking sides in a family matter, Claude insisted. This is about respecting Niko's memory and the pain everyone who loved him is experiencing. These competing narratives reveal deep family divisions as the situation unfolds publicly. Julie and Claude's responses prioritized honoring Niko's memory over engaging in Brian's public dispute. Their approaches to grief and family communication stood in stark comparison to Brian's during this challenging time. Niko's final months revealed through social media posts. Niko McKnight's social media accounts tell a different story than the family disputes that have dominated Brian McKnight's recent news coverage. His Instagram posts show us a young man who faced mortality with remarkable honesty. These posts create a heartbreaking contrast to the public conflict that emerged after his death. Instagram updates on cancer battle. Niko shared regular updates about his cancer trip on Instagram throughout 2023 and early 2024. He posted an optimistic message in January 2024 that gave everyone hope. Things are looking better now with my diagnosis. This update came after he had fought stage 4 colon cancer for about 2 years. His Instagram became a detailed record of his medical experience with posts about 1. His ongoing treatments, 2. Hospital visits, 3. Physical changes from chemotherapy, 4. Moments of both progress and setbacks. Niko kept sharing health updates with his followers until April 2024, just 2 months before he died. His posts switched between hope and acceptance of his difficult situation. He wrote something truly touching about facing mortality. Every day is a gift when you're not promised tomorrow. The optimistic January update gave way to a decline in his condition over the next few months. He posted less often as he focused on fighting for his health, but stayed connected with his online community almost until the end. Mentions of wife and emotional struggles. We can learn about Niko's support system and emotional state during his cancer fight through his social media. His wife appeared in many posts, and he often thanked her for her steadfast dedication. He wrote several touching tributes about how she gave him strength during his toughest treatment moments. "My wife has been my rock through all of this," one post said. "Don't know how I would manage without her by my side every step of the way." Niko sometimes addressed the complex family dynamics that later became central to Brian McKnight's news coverage. He never directly mentioned his estrangement from his father, but talked about finding strength in chosen family and close friends. His social media showed both emotional resilience and physical struggles. He shared inspirational messages about perseverance and gratitude even as his health got worse. A March 2024 post read, "Cancer teaches you to appreciate every moment and every person who shows up for you." His posts revealed the emotional weight of his battle through discussions about concerns about his family's future, gratitude for supporters, reflections on life priorities, spiritual thoughts about his journey. Brian McKnight's relationship with his biological kids stayed mostly unmentioned in Niko's public posts. The way he thanked those who supported him spoke volumes through his silence about certain family members. Niko made his final post about 2 weeks before his death. He appeared with his wife and expressed thanks for another day. After news of his passing spread, the comments section became a digital memorial to Brian McKnight's son, who fought cancer with remarkable dignity online. Brian McKnight's kids' controversy continues to play out in public, but Niko's own social media words remind us what truly mattered to him in his final months: love, support, and finding meaning in each remaining day. Estrangement between Brian and his biological kids resurfaces. Niko McKnight's tragic death has brought renewed attention to the broken relationship between Brian McKnight and his biological children. This family conflict made Brian McKnight latest news headlines several times in the last few years. The situation became even more painful in April 2024 when Brian made controversial remarks about his older children. These wounds remained raw until Niko's death. Brian's past comments calling kids products of sin. Brian sparked outrage during an Instagram Q&A session in April 2024, just 2 months before Niko died. He labeled his biological children as evil and products of sin. A fan commented about removing negative people from life, and Brian responded, "In order to live a life that you love, you have to get rid of the evil and the negativity, even if that evil and negativity is related to you." A follower suggested Brian was going against God by keeping distance from his children. His shocking reply doubled down. God wasn't talking about children that are the product of sin, which these are. He added, "I didn't raise them, their mothers did," which showed his dismissal of parental duties. These comments came after years of family tension that started around 2019. Brian acknowledged his complicated relationship with his eldest children back then. He claimed he had been there for my children every step of the way until recently. He admitted they were estranged, but denied abandoning them. Niko's public response and dying wish. Niko took to social media to express his pain through allegations about Brian's past behavior. He claimed Brian made him clean his used condoms out his bathroom at 15. The truth behind these accusations aside, they showed the deep hurt within the family. The most heartbreaking part was Niko's final wish. His cancer complications worsened in April 2024, and he shared on X, formerly Twitter, "When I was about to die in the hospital from complications from my cancer, I just wanted to bury the hatchet and hear him say he loves me, and he told me he couldn't arbitrarily tell me he loves me. Still cuts so deep." Niko shared a touching thought the next day. "Sometimes I wonder if my dad's karma is my close proximity to death. Like maybe if I end up dying, it'll release him from this grip of evil." These words carry extra weight after his death. Niko wrote a moving message 6 months before he died. "Every day, I feel so embarrassed by how things went with our dad. You quickly learn what matters most when faced with a situation like mine, and family matters the most. I miss my family so much. Everyone." Public backlash erupts over Brian McKnight's statements. The public's outrage erupted on social media platforms right after Niko's death and Brian McKnight's controversial statements. News about Brian McKnight shifted from mourning Niko to people's anger over his father's reaction to the tragedy. Fans criticized his parenting and name change. People were shocked that Brian chose to highlight family conflicts instead of grieving for his son. Social media lit up with harsh comments about his parenting style. Users on Instagram and Twitter called his behavior heartless and self-centered. The situation got worse when old videos came to light. These showed Brian introducing his youngest son as Brian K. McKnight, the same name as his estranged oldest son, Brian Jr. Many believed this was Brian's attempt to replace his biological children with his new family. Brian's April 2024 statement became another flashpoint. He called his older children products of sin, while Niko battled terminal cancer. Social media users found this timing particularly heartless. People couldn't understand why a father would publicly reject his dying son just months before he passed away. The criticism grew even stronger because Brian chose to make private family matters public. A comment that went viral summed up the sentiment: a real father would prioritize his son's memory over his own ego. Brian limits comments on social media. The flood of negative responses seemed too much for Brian. He quickly put restrictions on his social media accounts. He started by limiting who could comment on his Instagram post about Niko's death. Brian then tightened his social media presence. He turned off all comments on new posts. He restricted access to his Instagram stories. He blocked users who criticized him. The backlash spread beyond his controlled platforms. Entertainment blogs and news outlets picked up the story and increased criticism about how he handled his son's death. People started showing strong support for Julie McKnight and Brian's estranged children. Their social media accounts received countless messages of sympathy about Brian McKnight's situation and his relationship with his Brian McKnight biological kids. What this tragedy reveals about unresolved family trauma. The death of Niko McKnight is a profound personal tragedy, but its public aftermath has laid bare the devastating consequences of unresolved family trauma. Instead of a time for unified grief, his passing became a catalyst for a public war of words, turning private pain into a spectacle. The very platforms that Niko used to document his courageous fight with dignity became the battleground for his grieving family. Brian McKnight's controversial statements, the pained rebuttals from his ex-wife and brother, and the resurfacing of past hurts reveal a family fractured long before this final, heartbreaking chapter. This incident serves as a cautionary tale about how private wounds, when left to fester, can erupt in the most public and damaging ways, forever altering a public legacy. Brian McKnight, once known solely for his timeless R&B ballads, is now equally defined by this deeply personal and painful controversy. Ultimately, the greatest tragedy is that Niko's memory, that of a young man who faced his mortality with honesty and grace, is now inextricably linked to this bitter feud. While the world debates the actions of the living, the story of his own quiet strength is at risk of being lost in the noise.